Hi, Kent. How are we doing today?
They keep asking.
So are we going to talk snow or are we going to talk basketball?
I think we're ready to do that.
Coming off a really hard-fought win against Northwestern. We're back watching the film. It was a lot of very little things, a lot of little things that were impacting the outcome of that game. I'm excited about that win because it was the unknown. It was the sources and the guys that maybe we didn't expect going into the game that impacted winning a lot, and I was excited for that because it's great to see guys that work really hard be able to get rewarded. And the most impressive thing to me was the lack of nervousness or fear that RJ and Pods played with. They just stepped up and were tremendous. So. Unique night that, Plummer was in foul trouble. Trent had to go all 40. That's not something we like to do, but, had to do to win that game. And then really hadn't anticipated playing Kofi 30 minutes. But, through the course of the game, he got a little tired there in the second half. We got him a blow, and then he came back, and he was really recharged and was better than expected. So we've got Corbello off protocol. He's back and working out. Went through practice yesterday, so he is back into the mix. What that means yet, I don't know. We'll see how he's had such a lengthy time off, how that looks, but excited to have him back participating. Get one of the best teams in the country coming in here and in Wisconsin. They're a team that's a little different than last year. They're playing a little more open, a little faster. They're a team that is, Davis has made an incredible jump from his freshman to his sophomore year, and then Brad Davison is playing at an all-conference level. And then to see Tyler Wall step up, I think Tyler's averaging 15 or 16 in his last 5. This is a very, very good Wisconsin basketball team, and they're typical. They're post everybody. They've got 5 men who shoot it. And, Davis is a high usage guy. He's getting 17, 18, 19 clips up every night. He's got an opportunity to go whenever he needs to go. And he's so athletic. He's very strong. And you've got to make everything difficult for him. But a very, very good basketball team will have to play awfully well to win.
Brett, I think they're 10-1 in games decided by 2 possessions or less.
Best record in the country.
What makes them so good in those close games? How do they find ways to...
Davis and Davidson and Davison. I mean, they both, there's no secret. Those guys get the ball, and they get the ball in their spots, and they've delivered. And, Johnny's an elite mid-range scorer. Does it at all 3 levels, does it from the 3, and he does it in post-ups. And, and then Brad's closes games out at the free throw line, and he's made timely shots. And that's a pretty good recipe for winning. And when you got more than one guy capable of sealing a game.
Coach, big picture-wise, what does this game and really this next stretch of games mean for the net and seeding when tournament time comes around?
Well, I imagine in a month it'll probably mean quite a bit more than it does to me right now. Right now, it's an eternity away. I don't even think about it yet. I couldn't even tell you where we're at in the net. I haven't looked at it. I have no idea. Right now it's Wisconsin. I know we're halfway through conference schedule. We've got 10 more games to go, and to me that's a long time. And we've got a very, very good basketball team coming in here tomorrow night, and that's where all my focus is. And a month from now it may mean something a lot more or a lot less, but right now we're trying to win a Big Ten championship as they are.
Brett, this might be a silly question, but Andre being out, does that mean do you think he'll be available tomorrow? And or maybe what would go into making that determination? Yeah,
and if everything goes accordingly, I would assume that he's going to be available. We'll see what that looks like as he moves through today, and again, he's been out for a little bit, so we got to be diligent in what we do there.
This is sort of similarly big picture, but you mentioned both you and Wisconsin trying to win a Big Ten title, tied for first. I mean, does the winner tomorrow night, does that give whatever team it is a leg up in that race? I mean, how much of a leg up? Well, for a night, I think that we've all got very, very hard games and in front of us, and it's we don't play them twice, do we? We only play them once, so it gives you an advantage and a tiebreaker from that standpoint, I guess. But there's so much basketball yet to be played. It's one game at a time, and they're the next one, and they happen to be tied with us, and deservedly so. They're very, very good, but we've all got very hard road games, as we know. There's no easy game in this league, and it's a lot of basketball. February is a long month.
Can you give us a Coleman Hawkins update, whether it's his role against Wisconsin tomorrow or just how he's working within the rotation, maybe what he needs to shore up on defense?
Yeah, there's nothing, it's nothing new there. Coleman's a valuable piece to our team. He's a guy that, we count on. He can guard multiple positions. He'll have a great opportunity tomorrow to guard a really good player, and we expect him to do that.
Kind of bouncing off of Scott's question, with a win, in a way you guys will kind of control your own destiny in the Big Ten. How do you handle all of that kind of outside chatter at this point where if you guys win, you can win the Big Ten if you continue to handle business?
I don't listen to any of the chatter. Never have, never will. I don't. Next game, simple, day to day. Can we be better today than we were yesterday? What you guys mumble about and what our fans mumble about, I don't give two rips about. But I keep our guys eager and hungry and challenged and fighting. And like I said, it's a lot of basketball left, guys. A lot of basketball.
With Trent playing all 40 at Northwestern, I think with the overtime game, he's averaging almost 40 minutes a game over this last 4 or 5 game stretch. Is there a concern about diminishing return, just with him carrying that workload?
It's too many minutes. It's too many minutes. Yeah, and now if anybody can do it, it's him, because he's in elite shape and he's that guy. But I don't want to ever have to play guys like that, and that's I want guys to be able to maximize. And what Trent's doing on the defensive end is remarkable. Boo threw a 3 in at the buzzer that we let him have. Otherwise, that dude had 6, and Trent didn't blow a coverage. He had a 0.0 rating. So it's not fair to him, but again, he's that valuable to us, and obviously with Plum in foul trouble, we needed him on the court a good deal of the time, and I tried to always think about timeouts and opponents' timeouts and how those can help him up and with media timeouts, but I got to do a better job of getting him out some.
2 questions about pods. One, did you see in the recruiting process what would be a typical or cliche type military type school behavior out of him and maturity out of him when you recruited him? And 2, did you know really early on that you might be able to take him out of that state and have him be an out-of-state type prospect and recruit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we think about where they come from, or we it's more about the pieces and how they fit, and loved his build, loved the fact he could shoot it, loved his IQ. He played multiple positions, he scored it in different ways, and that's a. He's a gym rat. He's a guy that lives in the gym. So, all those things played into fitting us, and we were fortunate we got him, and he's done nothing to disappoint at this point. He's been very, very hardworking and very, very diligent, very competitive. He's a very competitive young man. That's one of his best attributes.
Along with that, how did you guys massage? I mean, he comes in on a veteran team. You guys obviously had pretty high expectations coming in. How did you massage hey, this is a big step for anybody, and then to also understand that maybe those minutes might not come as early as some freshmen just generally hope?
Well, they all think they're pros, and they all think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but a lot of conversations, and then they understand how hard it is and how you have to learn, and it's one of the truly challenging things in today's world, because you don't know every year who's coming back, and until they literally get back on campus, you don't know what the scenario, what the situation is going to be. So open lines of communication, a lot of conversation. All three of those guys have been fantastic. They're mature, they're high character guys. I think they understand that they all want to play, but I think they all understand that the value of winning and experience and work and how hard it is. And I think these guys have grown to appreciate all that, the process.
Brady talked about them upping the pace a little bit. Do they still find ways to dictate? Because it always seems like over the years they dictate the game pace and everything. Are they still able to do that? Yes. And if so, how?
They're elite at it. They're number one in the country in fewest turnovers. They don't foul. They're fouling a little more, but they don't foul much. So it plays into pace. Davis is a very, very good rebounder. So he's able to push instead of just always outlet it to a point guard and then, run swing or one of their actions that they run. But he pushes, and he's elite in transition. He's very, very good. So that's helped them. And then they're taking open threes in transition. So, that pace has suited this team very well.
Coach, the rebound rate wasn't quite as high against Northwestern as you're used to. What do you think that was the reason for that, and how big is that stat tomorrow night?
It's huge. I think if you look at Wisconsin and their wins compared to their losses, I think they've been out rebounded. And I'm going to forget this, but they've been out rebounded a decent number in their losses, and it's something that we've talked about this week because we didn't do a very good job of. Just coincidentally, DeMonte got the tip dunk to put us in the lead, but we've got to get back to that. And we had some awkward lineups out there. We had some different lineups, but we've got to get back to finding some easy baskets.
In a big game like this, how important is the leadership that you talk a lot of time about from Trent Frazier, DeMonte Williams, Kofi, Jacob Grandison, et cetera?
Yeah, it's not just a big game. It's in Northwestern and those games and every game. I mean, not that Northwestern's not a big game, but they're not in first. But leadership is huge every night. We've got to be prepared, or you get beat in this league. And I said it to DeMonte, I said it to our team the other night, was as good a leadership as I've ever seen here from DeMonte Williams. And his positive attitude, he was keeping guys up. He was, if there was a turnover, if there was a good play, he was complimenting. He was phenomenal the other night with his leadership. And in a night that Trent was a little bit off, he was picking him up. And that didn't have to happen very often, but DeMonte was elite, and it was a big part of us winning the game.
Yeah, then you kind of talked about after the Northwestern game about kind of getting Kofi back in the fold offensively after him being out for a while. Do you kind of feel like after getting a couple practices and some time, you kind of feel a little more comfortable offensively with him kind of meshing with everybody back again?
Yeah, it's a, you want to be a fine-tuned motor, and sometimes, when you're minus a little something, you get it just a little bit off, and then it comes back, and you've got to kind of recalibrate a little bit, and that's where we're at, and I feel like we're doing a lot of good things. I want to get our pace back a little bit. It's one of the things that I didn't like in the Northwestern game for sure, because I thought that was one area we could exploit them. But we got to play with better tempo. We got to play with better flow, and that'll ease everything. And it takes time on that end too. It's something you got to really spend some time on, and we've spent a lot of time on it yesterday, and will again today.
Brad, obviously Kofi and Johnny Davis are among the two best players in the country fighting for pretty much every award, but is it an accident, I guess, that the two teams at the top of the Big Ten have the supporting cast around them? I use that word a little bit loosely. And then I guess, what do you make of the guys around Wisconsin who aren't Johnny Davis?
Well, I love their team, and Crowell or Kroll or the big sophomore is going to be a pain in the neck for however long he's there, and is he good? And Hepburn as a freshman point guard has been phenomenal. If he gets his feet set and shoots it, he's not missing it. And then you've seen Tyler Wall just progress into an extremely effective player, and he can dribble drive it. He's a very good passer. He's right hand, left hand hooks. He's on the glass. So their supporting cast is good. And I've talked a lot about Brad and my 5 years here, because he impacts a lot for them. So and I think that we're in the same situation, and we've got very good players and guys who complement Kofi, and and in turn, those are the guys that help make both those guys successful.
With a lot of basketball left to be played, just in your time as a coach, how much have you seen where maybe how a team plays and performs in February sort of dictates how they feel about the season afterwards?
Well, probably up until last year, I felt pretty good about it. Last year's ending wasn't quite what we wanted, but that's a hard question, Scott, because unfortunately, so much gets put on the last game, and only one team wins it, and that impacts a lot of times your off season, and you have to really do a good job of refocusing on what truly the season was about. But February gets to be a time where some teams hang it up and think about spring break, and some teams keep pushing the ball forward, making the snowball bigger, and no pun intended there. And keep that thing rolling downhill and end up having a great season, and those are our goals, and that's this team's ambition, and we'll see what happens. You've got to get stronger, you've got to get better, you've got to be a little bit lucky, it's no doubt, I think, the way you want to go into postseason is playing well, and yet we're the best league in the country, and they're all hard. There's nothing easy, nothing given to you.
Has NIL created any more distraction than a typical high-profile college basketball player already has to deal with?
I think there's some, in some cases, maybe. I don't know the complexity of that yet, because I stay out of it. I think there's no doubt guys have obligations that they have to fit in, but they're doing that around their normal schedule. I don't think it's been a huge issue at this point, but I think guys are managing it better than I would have thought going into the season. I've been pretty pleased with how they've done that. So I wouldn't call it a distraction. I think it's time that they've had to manage and learn how to manage.
I was trying to figure out what happened today with Fonz and Reebok. Do you know anything about that?
I don't.
You mentioned Pods' competitiveness. What stood out quickly to you, or maybe even specifically when you got to campus and you were seeing Trent and you were seeing DeMonte? I mean, did anything stand out about him kind of going back every time there in the early parts of summer?
Yeah, one of his best attributes is he's very confident. He is fearless. And then you go through that, and then all of a sudden you realize that, okay, maybe there's some things I need to learn and I need to figure out. And then you kind of have to take that step back, but he's never lost his competitive drive through that. And then you have to realize what really a college basketball practice is about. And you find your way through playing, but most importantly, you find your way through working. And practice is about like getting your team better. There might be days where he shoots 5 balls in practice. In the course of practice, we do a startup segment. But then you got to hone your craft. So then it becomes about the individual time and the getting with coaches to continue to get better. And once those guys figure that piece out, and that's the work piece, that it's not always fun. It's not always easy. But I think all of those guys, all of those freshmen, Pods included, they had to adjust to that. And, and then being a supportive teammate when they're not the guy, that's different for them. And, but they've all great character kids, and they've all done a great job.
I promise I'm not trying to get you in trouble, but I wanted to ask you about the flop warnings in college basketball this year. I know you wanted to get that behavior out of the game, but does it have to be, in your mind, revisited in the idea of if my guy takes a charge, now there's a subjectivity that it could be considered a flop?
I love the flop call in certain areas of the game. Like it needed to go away with the throw your head back, flail your arm as you're dribbling the ball down the court. It needed to go away, and the officials and the committees have done a great job of calling that. It needs to go away on jump shooters, on guys falling down and guys kicking their leg. We've cleaned that aspect. Now we've put it back into play with charges and blocks and everything else, and it becomes a pretty objective call again, and I think a hard one. And it's my problem with the one the other night was there was already a blow given, and if you've taken one, that's supposed to be a point of emphasis. So it's hard. It's hard. We're on the right path. We're getting rid of it, and it needs to be done. That part of the game is not basketball. So we're on the right path. It's just a sensitive call, I guess.
Brad, just a little bit of housekeeping. Is Austin Hutcherson still around the team? I haven't seen him on the bench in a while. Is his recovery going well? What's his status?
Austin's back. Will be back with us today. Austin's been back in California. We started remotely from school. He had a surgery done before the day of the Missouri game. And so went home for Christmas, and we just left him there to spend time with family. There was no need for him to come back. He had his follow-up yesterday in St. Louis, and is back and will be back joining us around. But he's got another probably 4 to 8 weeks, somewhere in there, is what I was told, of recovery, and then he'll do that here as he finishes up the school year.
During the football season, Coach Bielema talked a lot about November and the importance of finding success before the final stretch. You kind of did it there too, talking about February before you go into March. Why is it so difficult to find that in the last month of the season before that final big push?
It's a grind. It is a grind. So we're today, I don't know, 70 some practices, and that number's down. You started to play a lot of games. You've traveled. You're in school, out of school. It becomes a mental thing as much as any physical thing. And I say that, and the physical piece is a big piece. I mean, bodies wear down, bodies break down, and you're not as physically fit. We are. You know, we got Fletch. We are. I mean, we lift every single day. We work out. We get stronger. We get better. But it's the mental piece to that you know, nobody wants to lose, but losing is not near as much fun as winning, and that impacts young people and how they play, or pros. It doesn't matter. And so, you know, you get towards that part of the season, and you got to figure out what you're playing for, and that becomes a real challenge for some teams.
Is that a snow question? If we get as much as forecasted, does that make you change your game day schedule any, or just in terms of maybe the guys getting here?
Is there anything better than snow days? Seriously. I mean, no, it's an 8 o'clock game. You know, we've you know, the league's done a great job of communicating with Wisconsin, and you know, I think they're here or on their way already, and you know, the officials have been made aware, and so on and so forth. But we'll handle our daily routine and move forward, and we play in 72-degree climate-controlled weather, so everybody's good. And if we need a snowplow to go get them, we'll figure that out. But you know, it's you know, it's important that, you know, I hope all the fans, all the students that can come and be safe and feel safe doing it can get here. You know, I know it's not something you want to get out in, but man, it's going to be a heck of a college basketball game, and you know, our guys would love to see this place rocking and rolling.
Coach, R.J. Melendez is kind of a unique guy on your roster, a guy who can slash and put the ball on the floor. Is that something you've been missing with Curbelo being out? And if he could carve out that roll down the stretch, what's that do for your team?
Yeah, he's great. He gives us a different piece. That's, you know, all three of those freshmen are different, and RJ's that. RJ's a slasher. He's an athlete. He plays way above the rim. He's very, very, very athletic. He's you know, he's a guy that has length. Can guard, and as he's continued to gain strength and get more comfortable, you know, he's earning that. He's earning those opportunities, and you know, again, a guy that can, you know, maybe spell, you know, DeMonte, Jake. You know, we've even slid him over a little bit and played at the 2 with and given Plummer a blow. So, you know, he's versatile. He's really athletic, and we like that a lot.
Just want to follow the Hutcherson question. What's the current state of the medical redshirt policy? How much time would he have left?
I don't even. I'd have to go with compliance. I wouldn't know that offhand. I don't want to speculate on that. It's again, I'd probably say the wrong. I get all confused now because of the COVID year or the sit-out year. So I'd have to look at his clock with in regards to compliance. See everybody tomorrow.